had already unwrapped itself from his wrist, waiting at the ready. But it retreated and calmed after Shilian saw who it was. Shilian said, You knew? Since who knows when, a giant hole that could allow the entry of 2 persons had appeared. Yin Yu poked half of himself out from the hole, a sharp shovel in his hands. He let out a breath and wiped away his sweat. Your Highness, it's me. Thank goodness I didn't dig to the wrong spot. Let's get out of here. He had actually forgotten that there was a holy spiritual device in Yin Yu's hands, the Earthmaster's sacred shovel. That this device wasn't confiscated, it was a blessing from the heavens. It seemed sometimes it was a good thing not to have too much of a sense of presence. Amidst the chaos of battle, the enemy would for sure not go for this person. But on the flip side, his own troops might injure him by accident. Shilian was just about to go pull him out, when his body involuntarily took a step back. Yin Yu was puzzled. Your Highness, what is it? Shilian was also puzzled. Why would he back away? But soon after, he realized that the one who was backing away wasn't him, but Shiqing Xuan, who had moved into his body. That shovel of the Earthmaster was considerably familiar, so it wasn't hard to think of the ones who had utilized it in the past. An inexplicable wave of terror filled Shilian, and it was probably Shiqing Xuan's subconscious reaction. Fortunately, Shiqing Xuan's reaction wasn't overly agitated, and he quickly returned the body's control back to Shilian. Shilian also quickly forgot to ask Hua Cheng about the one they must enlist the help of to ascend the heavens, and hastily jumped down into that hole, dropping into the heavenly capital's underground with Yin Yu. Above them, it didn't take long before the hole closed. They crawled inside the dark tunnel for a bit when Shilian suddenly realized something. Yin Yu, can this Earthmaster shovel dig through the barrier locking down the heavenly capital? I don't think so, Yin Yu replied. Huh? Shiqing Xuan said. Then that means, although the sacred shovel is a spiritual device, even after digging all around, you'll still be in the heavenly capital. Doesn't that make it useless? Yin Yu scratched his head. It's not entirely useless. A barrier array has been set up outside of the palace of every martial heavenly official to slow the recovery of their injuries. I thought if they continued to remain in their palaces, they wouldn't be able to recover their fighting power for years. So why not use the Earthmaster shovel to dig out a secret room in the underground somewhere and move all the martial guards there, and after everyone's mostly recovered, we can try to break out. Wait, Shiqing Xuan called out. Hua Chengju says you tell those martial guards to hide themselves and heal on their own. You'd be seeking your own deaths if you tried to break out under Jun Wu's watch. Yin Yu was shocked. Your Highness, you can communicate with Chengju? I thought it's impossible. No, Shilian said. The one talking to you just now, wasn't me. Shiqing Xuan said, It's me, Your Highness Yin Yu. But no matter how they spoke, the words came from one mouth, and Yin Yu was confused. It's you, but it's still you. Isn't it you, Your Highness? Shiqing Xuan said, Gah, it's me, the Windmaster. Wait, now you should call me the former Windmaster. I used the soul-shifting spell. Relaying messages is such a pain. He entered the side to listen and watch, then returned to his body on the other side to relay everything to Hua Cheng, repeatedly coming in and out. Just thinking about it was tiresome. Yin Yu quickly replied, Oh, such hard work, so that was it. And he returned to digging with renewed vigor. The two crawled forward for a while before Yin Yu spoke up again. Here should be good. Your Highness, please stay hidden here for now. I'll go pick up the next heavenly official. The tunnel they entered at the beginning was gradually closing, and Shilian said, "Huh? By yourself? I'll go with you." "No, it's all right," Yin said. "Truth be told, Your Highness, the bigger the hole the Earthmaster shovel digs, the more power it uses, so it'll probably be faster if I go by myself. The closest martial guard palace near here is—" He seemed to have thought for a moment before he continued with, "In any case, I'll be right back." Shi Qingxuan had been using the soul-shifting spell repeatedly, and the exhaustion from the frequent immense use of spiritual powers was also affecting Shilian, so he sat on the ground, nodding tiredly, feeling both his head and body was somewhat heavy. He used his hand to support his head up. "All right," he said. Thus, Yin opened a new hole by himself and continued to dig forward while Shilian lay on the ground and closed his eyes. An unknown amount of time passed before he suddenly jolted awake. Yin? It was pitch black all around, a blanket of dead silence. It was obvious that Yin hadn't yet returned. Shi Qingxuan also verified this fact. "Your Highness, you're awake? It's tiring, right? Yin hasn't returned yet." After resting for a bit, Shilian had regained his energy. "How long has he been gone for? How come he hasn't come back yet?" "It's been almost 2 incense time," Shi Qingxuan said. "He couldn't have gotten lost, could he?" Shilian sensed something was wrong and said, "I'll go look for him." Then he rolled over and crawled toward the tunnel Yin had left through. Since Yin still needed to use this tunnel to return, after the Earthmaster shovel had burrowed through, it didn't automatically close up. Shilian crawled carefully within it, and a moment later, Shi Qingxuan spoke up. "Crimson Rain Sword Flower says, 'Gege, you best not go.'" Shilian stopped crawling. "Something's probably not right? "Yeah," Shi Qingxuan replied. "Hua Chengju's tone sounds pretty serious. But it's precisely because it doesn't seem right that I have to go find him," Shilian said. "Otherwise, if Yin ran into trouble—" Right then, a chill ran down his spine. Shilian was startled and whipped his head around. Shi Qingxuan also sensed that chill down his back and exclaimed, "My God, what was that? The back shudders." Behind him was the empty, pitch-black tunnel, and there wasn't anything. However, Shilian stared at it for a long while before he replied, "It's nothing." Shi Qingxuan instantly shut his mouth and held his breath, because right after Shilian said the words, "It's nothing," out loud, he then soundlessly mouthed, "Don't make a sound. Something's here." There was someone else in this tunnel. They were right behind Shilian just now, but the moment he looked back, they were gone. Shilian's gut instinct for danger was never off. He couldn't allow the other party to discover he had already noticed, and pretended as if there was nothing going on. However, Shi Qingxuan hated situations like these the most, and goosebumps popped all over his arms. He mouthed back, "Is it not His Highness Yin?" "If it was him, there wouldn't be a need to sneak around," Shilian replied. After a moment's silence, Shilian asked soundlessly, "Has Sunlong said anything?" Shi Qingxuan replied, That Sunlong of yours looks really scary right now." He said, "Gege, if the situation calls for it, use the soul-shifting spell to move into the Windmaster's body." However, never mind that he didn't have enough spiritual power at the moment to use the soul-shifting spell. Even if there was enough, Shilian couldn't possibly just dust off and get the heck out, leaving behind the mess that was the heavenly capital. Shilian replied, "Don't worry about it, Sanlang." He hadn't even specified what not to worry about before he shot his head up to look ahead. That sense of danger earlier had come from behind him, but now it was coming from ahead. Yet when he looked over, it was still pitch black, and nothing could be seen clearly. Shi Qingxuan mouthed, "Your Highness, what did you notice now? What should we do? Does this mean we should go forward or backward?" After observing intently for a moment, Shilian replied, "This means forward or back makes no difference, so whatever." Then he crawled forward. He crawled and crawled, but then stopped, feeling slightly flabbergasted. Shi Qingxuan said in spite of himself, "How could this be?" What was before them was actually a fork in the road. There were 2 tunnels. Could Yin have dug a path and discovered he was going in the wrong direction, so he dug another one? Shi Qingxuan wondered. Shilian thought inwardly. Yin must be very familiar with the roads of the heavenly capital, so how could he have made this mistake? This is probably something worse. However, he didn't say this part out loud, and only said, "Qingxuan, can you help me ask Sanlang to pick a path? Left or right?" A moment later, Shi Qingxuan said, "Crimson Rain Swordflower said he doesn't recommend either one. Don't pick either." Shilian didn't know whether to laugh or to cry. While he also figured there were probably bad things waiting for him at the end of either path, he still couldn't just stay where he was. After some contemplation, he said, "Then, Qingxuan, you pick one." "Huh? Me?" Shi Qingxuan asked. "Yeah," Shilian said. "If you pick, then there's still a 50% chance you'd pick the better route. If I pick, then..." Shi Qingxuan instantly replied, "All right, I get it." After much deliberation, he turned his head to the left. Shilian nodded and crawled over. The deeper they crawled, the narrower this tunnel became. It was almost suffocating, but still possible. After turning and winding, crawling for a long while, suddenly they became delighted as they entered a much larger space. Thank goodness. While they were tense and cautious the entire way, they didn't actually run into any real danger. Shilian looked over the surroundings for a moment. He said, "What is this place?" Shi Qingxuan said with uncertainty, "I don't know. I can't see clearly. But how come it feels a little familiar?" "Huh?" He wasn't the only one who noticed. Shilian noticed too. It was indeed familiar. Wasn't this place the secret room where Shilian had laid down and rested for a bit to await Yinyu's return? He was absolutely certain. There was also another tunnel, and it was the one Yinyu had dug out with the Earthmaster shovel when he left, and the same one Shilian crawled out of to go find him. Shi Qingxuan was creeped out. How did we come back here? Was this path we used to crawl back from here before? Of course not. Earlier when they left, there was only one tunnel going out. The path they crawled in to return was one that appeared from nowhere. When they ran into that fork in the road, the path on the left detoured in a big circle and brought them back. It must not have been Yinyu who dug this. He wouldn't have wasted so much effort for such a meaningless act. It appeared he probably also had bumped into this peculiar incident. Shilian thought he really should have pushed to go with him earlier after all, and without another word, he crawled into the tunnel he used to leave from before and quickly came to the fork in the road. This time, he chose the right path, and as he crawled, Shi Qingxuan spoke up. It looks like this time my luck wasn't that great either. I picked the wrong path. I should have chosen right from the beginning. However, Shilian said, "No, I think your luck is still really good." "What do you mean?" Shi Qingxuan said. Shilian tried to word this delicately. How do I say this? Because this path on the right might be even scarier than the one on the left. Then both of them heard. From behind them came the scratching sounds of something rapidly crawling and closing in. Shilian unwrapped Ruya and threw it behind. "Ruya, help block it for a moment." Then he started madly crawling forward, almost a meter per push, and Shi Qingxuan was losing his mind in panic. "How exciting! Exciting! Exciting, exciting, exciting!" Shilian called out. "The most exciting part hasn't come yet. Come, take a look." "What's that now?" Shi Qingxuan exclaimed. Shilian stopped his mad crawling and exhaled a long breath, and before them was once again another fork in the road. Shi Qingxuan cried without thinking, "Right!" Shilian turned right resolutely, but on the following path, endless forks in the road kept appearing. Shi Qingxuan cried, "Left, right, left, right." He had already stopped being conscious of what he was yelling. Under such dire circumstances, with the situation changing at a moment's notice, it was even less possible for him to leave Shilian's body to ask Hua Cheng what should be done. Because it was very possible that within the next turn at the fork, the situation would change completely. The thing behind them was blocked by Ruya for a bit, but it was still closing in on them, and the tunnels were also growing more and more narrow and more cramped. Finally, they reached the point where arms couldn't move at all. Shilian's shoulders were already stuck, and he exclaimed, "I can't crawl any further." "Then what should we do?" Shi Qingxuan cried. "Do we have to backtrack?" The thing pursuing them from behind was going to catch up at any time now. "No fear," Shilian exclaimed. "A man can both charge and withdraw. If moving forward is not an option, then we'll take a step back. If we have to, then so be it. Come." Then he took 2 steps back, freeing a hand. He was just about to grab for the hilt of Feng Xin and fight that thing behind him to his heart's content, when suddenly his head stiffened. Shilian's mind froze too. When he looked up, he hadn't even seen what the thing was, but there seemed to be someone who chuckled in the darkness. A hand reached out, and it was placed on Shilian's head. He widened his eyes, and the next moment, he lost consciousness. An unknown amount of time passed before Shilian slowly came to. It was only after he became conscious that Shilian found he was sitting on a chair and his entire body was firmly and securely bound. He struggled a bit and discovered it was Ruya that was binding him. Shilian was perplexed. "Ruya, what are you doing?" Ruya was also aggrieved, and it drooped, nuzzling against him. Shilian then looked closer and found Ruya was actually tied in a dead knot. No wonder Ruya couldn't fight back. It was scared of being tied into a dead knot the most. In the past, before it wised up, it liked to wrap itself around mindlessly to play, and as it played, it'll tangle itself up into a mess of dead knots. It was Shilian who'd exasperatedly untie it every time. Later, it learned to be good, smarter, and never knotted itself dead again. Feeling helpless, Shilian tried to see if he could struggle and break the chair apart directly. But unfortunately, the chair wouldn't move at all. It seemed it was cemented down by the injection of very strong spiritual powers. Since he couldn't move, then he would just observe his surroundings first. Xilian scanned around. This place should be the inside of a palace. One rather new and glamorous, but he didn't know which one it was. Either way, it wasn't the great martial hall. Just as he was thinking this, a hand rested on his shoulder, and from above his head came the gentle voice of someone. "Schindler, my dear Schindler, you really are too mischievous." Hearing this voice, Xilian instantly froze. From behind him, that man came forward and turned around with a hand behind his back. It was indeed Junwu. His other hand was still on Xilian's shoulder, and he spoke with each step he took. "In the past half year you've been back, the heavenly capital has been broken here and there, been destroyed all over. So wouldn't you say you're quite the mischief maker? You're not a little mouse. What are you doing burrowing underground, sneaking about? Is it fun?" Then, this kind, gentle voice, like an elder watching his beloved child mess about, was giving Xilian chills, making him feel incredibly unnerved, and he really didn't know how he should respond. He then suddenly felt a wave of chill by his feet, and when he looked down, he saw it was a bundle of something white that had hugged his boots, watching him with an exceedingly malicious gaze. It was that fetus spirit. Xilian looked up and had pretty much figured it out. Yin Yu was digging tunnels with the Earthmaster shovel, but was captured by Junwu. Junwu then sent some things to stop him in the underground, which was why he went through that terrifying experience earlier. Xilian finally knew what he should say, and after a moment of speechlessness, he said, "You have such a despicable hobby." That chase in the tunnels reminded him of how he was suffocatingly pursued by White No-Face back then, and how Xilian had passed his days in panic and anxiety. If he wanted to capture him, then just capture him directly. Why must he rouse such disturbing terror and cause such fright? However, Junwu appeared to be quite cheerful, and he smiled. But Schindler is now much braver than before. He couldn't continue that line of conversation, so he asked instead, "Where's Yin Yu?" Junwu placed his hands on the back of the chair and turned Xilian's entire person around. "No rush, you will see, and not just him." Xilian was turned around and was now facing a mirror. However, what the mirror reflected wasn't him, but a pale-faced Yin Yu, and next to his feet there lay another person whose head was covered in blood, his face black and blue, completely unconscious. But from that head full of curls, Xilian could tell it was Chun Yizhen. Xilian was immediately alarmed. "What are you planning?"